When it comes to combat, it's usually expressed in the form of striking, grappling, or through the usage of weapons. However, in many cases, an imminent fight is often galvanized by the following steps: getting extremely close to each other, pushing one another, then boom, the first strike is thrown. Then now you have a brawl between two or more people, which in some cases can lead to the ground. However, in my humble opinion, you want to avoid this at all costs if possible. Hence why I believe this is one of the reasons you should prioritize learning striking over grappling when diving into the world of martial arts for the first time. Now, before I do a further dive on my reasonings why, I will say, if possible, try to de-escalate a hyper-aggressive situation or just simply run, as fighting could be quite dangerous and you can seriously be hurt or killed or do the same to the other person. So don't go seeking a smoke just because. Be a warrior in the garden rather than a gardener at war. Always be ready. But let's say this. Let's say we lived in a world composed of two different empires. You have your striking empire and your grappling empire. For me personally, I'm gonna go with the striking empire first. I will say this as well. If you want to become a complete martial artist, then I highly advise that you learn both, as that's gonna give you the best chance to defeat your opponent. But I just prefer striking firstly, and here's my reason why. Striking is perceivably a safer bet. It's primarily because in the actual fight, you really want to avoid being taken to the ground, if possible, or just immediately seeking to grapple with your opponent. In many cases, fights that end up on the ground subject you to a bit more variables, like being stumped by the person's friend or friends. You're an easier target to be stricken with a weapon of some sort. Because you're on the ground, you can't maneuver as easily as opposed to being on your feet. Also, I will say, if you're not the biggest individual, and let's say you get into a confrontation with a much larger guy, if you don't know how to properly grapple and you get on the ground, it may be over. At least with striking, you have a chance to properly time someone with a nice punch to the chin, the solar plexus, a kick to the balls, to either stun or knock your opponent out. See, when grappling in the streets, there are no rules, and that applies to the strikers as well. But when you're grappling with someone, and let's say you're on your back and you have them in a headlock on the ground, if you don't have a secure hold with that headlock and that person has enough energy and space to reach for his pocket to grab a pocket knife, then he could seriously hurt you with that now. At least with striking, you give yourself a decent distance to evaluate the situation first to see if they possibly have something in their pockets. Honestly, even before all of that, you need to always be evaluating the situation, the environment that you're in before any type of engagement. Always look at pockets, belt lines, the whole nine every time you go out in public. Remember, you have to stay ready. I'm not saying to go out there and have that mindset looking for the smoke, but what I am saying is be prepared. Also, if you're striking with someone in the streets, then you have the option to run now since you're on your feet, because if their friends are coming, you could just run. Or again, let's say you're on your feet and their friends are butting in, then you can now swing at multiple people and maybe knock one or two out. I'm just pointing out possibilities. Anything can happen, but that's my first reason. My second reason, one punch can change anything. It's nothing like catching someone with a nice punch and hurting them, but better yet, when you catch them with a nice shot and you deter them from trying to engage you furthermore, that's usually a win. Either because they're out cold or that punch did something to them. You ever hit somebody with a really nice shot and they become gun shy? And you know at that moment you broke their will. Not saying a body slam can't do it, because a nice slam can literally take your air away and just take you out of the game. But again, we want to maximize distance as much as possible in a street fight to minimize potential damage onto you. I don't care how big a person is, if you catch them with a nice shot right on the button and you knock them out or even stun them, it's usually over. Anybody can be knocked down and anybody can be knocked out. A person's jaw can only take so much force. And even then, we can't forget about the usage of kicks as well. A nice kick in the stomach or leg with some shoes on can seriously hurt and deter someone if you're properly conditioned as well. But striking changes storylines, and that's another reason why I prefer it. You also gonna get a solid baseline of footwork for striking, specifically if you learn boxing. Boxing arguably has the most effective footwork in any martial art. Staying light on your feet is critical in many aspects. The use of angles, staying light on your feet, and more. The footwork of boxing translates well into pretty much any martial art. I also like the body hardening aspect of it as well. When it comes to striking, your body's gonna get used to getting punched, kicked over and over again because you're going to be sparring. Your mental toughness, durability will also be greatly improved because you're used to taking more shots. So let's say you get into an altercation and you get punched or hit with multiple punches. Your body hardening and conditioning will be better versus someone who hasn't practiced striking like that. Or even get used to having kicks hurled at you in Muay Thai class. Taking those kicks, it's going to make you into a man. Grappling improves your body hardening as well, just not as well as taking punches, kicks, elbows. That's just my humble opinion. Now, I will say again, because I know I'm gonna get people in the comments talking about he thinks grappling is this, that, and the other. No, learn grappling to elevate your overall fighting skills. Learning to strike has its advantages, so does grappling. This is just my personal preference. I prefer to learn striking first, then grappling. However, if you combine both, you get the best of both worlds. Honestly, from my personal experience, it's rewarding to land a really nice shot. But it's just as rewarding when you're in that top mount position and you grab their arm, you swing around, you put them in the arm bar, or you go for that double leg takedown and you're successful. That's one of the best feelings in the world as well. Yeah, grappling shouldn't be your only option in a street fight because again, you want to avoid going to the ground. But you shouldn't just know striking, you gotta know both. I will say, if you're primarily a grappler, and let's say you know how to close the distance relatively quickly and effectively, then that's a major plus because someone who only knows striking, you gotta be really precise. If someone is a grappler and they know how to go down or dodge a little bit and catch you and then scoop you up and slam you, you might have some issues. Again, I just prefer striking. Just make sure you guys do this. Constantly evolve your mental and your physical skill set. Don't immediately close yourself off to things that challenge you or things you disagree with. Try to keep an open mind. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you smash that like button. Most importantly, make sure you are properly subscribed. I'll see you guys next video. Peace and love as always. And now, boom, we out, baby.